Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into this weekend. As I've been saying all week, I think that we are entering a phase of some probably pretty profound change. Change is truly written in the stars this weekend. The energy of Friday is just absolutely saturated by transit after transit after transit after transit that are all indicating change, transition, transformation. So I do think that this could be quite a change-oriented, transition-oriented, transformation-oriented weekend that we are moving through. And, really, if you've been following along with the astrology, you know this month of July is about to take us places that we've never been before and is hosting Uranus's entrance into the sign of Gemini. Uranus is changing signs for the first time in 7 years. Uranus being the planet that rules big, sudden, unexpected change. Moving into the sign of Gemini, this sign having to do with change, versatility, variability. So change is really the whole underlying or overarching theme right now, and this weekend may very, very much reflect that, especially Friday. It really is like a fireworks show out there. We have Venus conjuncting Uranus in the sign of Taurus, 29 degrees exactly to the minute. Of course, again, Uranus is this big outer planet collective energy influence having to do with change. And then immediately after that, Venus changes. She actually leaves Taurus, enters Gemini, changing signs, entering the sign of Gemini. As I said, this sign associated with change and versatility. And as soon as she enters the sign of Gemini, the first thing she does is form a trine to Pluto. Pluto, the planet having to do with power and transformation. So powerful change, transition, transformation represented just through the energy of Venus on Friday. Aside from that, we also have Neptune stationing retrograde in the sky, a planet changing directions. That's another pretty big vibe shift that we've got going on. And besides that, the moon transiting through the sign of Scorpio. And yes, we are in black moon energy this weekend. We are going to talk about that in our report for the day. But the moon's going to form a square to Pluto and also a trine to Jupiter. That could be indicating some big or supersized or just very powerful emotional transformations that happen in the context of all this other change that's playing out throughout the course of Friday and moving into the weekend and really moving into the rest of the month of July. Again, this super change-oriented month and period of time. So we've got some things to talk about, you guys. Let's get into our report. Let's take a good look at Friday and the way that all of this is coming together and the various ways it may be manifesting and what we've got going on Saturday and Sunday as we head through the weekend and prepare to enter next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, July 4th, 2025. Happy birthday, America. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we are just going to take a good look at our energy blueprint coming through specifically Friday, but also Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Try to get an idea of perhaps what we can expect out there as we do move through the weekend and prepare to enter next week. And as I have alluded to throughout the course of all my videos this week and in my intro, change really is the fundamental energetic push right now, this weekend, next week, this month. July is it's a very significant transition point. We have Uranus, who is the planet ruling sudden unexpected change, changing signs and entering the sign of Gemini, which is a sign very much associated with change, and then immediately forming a trine to Pluto, which is sort of like unbridled potential for change and transformation in ways that is very, very powerful. Okay, this is the defining energy to me, just, looking at the charts and transits of this whole month of July. And of course, that is then leading us into the rest of the summer and the rest of the year. So I do think that really the energy of Friday, and we'll talk about all the reasons as we get into the report, is the tipping point or the jump off point or the fireworks that sets off the chain reaction of events. I think that the energy taking place on Friday is orienting us energetically to some of these big changes, transitions, and transformations that are about to take place and characterize a lot of our experiences, again, now and moving forward. So there are, again, like a lot of things happening at the same time on Friday. Number one, we do have the exact to the minute alignment occurring between Uranus and Venus. This is not all of that rare or unique of a transit. We get a Venus-Uranus conjunction once a year, but what makes this extra significant is the fact that it is happening at 29 degrees, the last critical degree of Venus's sign, while Uranus, ruling sudden, unexpected, like big monumental changes, prepares to change signs after being in the sign of Taurus for 7 years. Venus is actually like meeting him for the send-off. They're coming together literally like 3 days before Uranus makes this big transition and activates all of these other big changes that are currently pending. Venus is kind of foreshadowing what is about to happen with Uranus coming up here over the next week or so. And so again, like I feel like this kind of is the jump off point, this specific transit, for a lot of these big changes that are about to start taking place. So we've got that going on. We've got that exact alignment in conjunction. Of course, this has been building all week. You may have had a very interesting or unusual week. You may find yourself really desiring some type of change or to really like switch things up. And the dull, the boring, the monotony, the mundane, this could be a super drain on energy this week. And a lot of feelings of anxiety and irritation could come if we are not somehow being allowed to pursue or engage in change, differentiation, doing something unusual somehow. So we've got that, we've got the Venus-Uranus situation, and then to just kick it up another notch, this is happening, as I said, at 29 degrees of the sign of Taurus. Immediately, it's actually 29 degrees and 52 minutes, so right near the tail end of the degree of the 29th degree of the sign. So as soon, basically, as Venus makes that conjunction to Uranus, the very next thing, which has to do with change in regard to the Venus energy, because it's happening in the sign of Taurus, and the ruler of that sign is giving one final activation of the change in the context of the Taurus energy, then Venus immediately changes herself and enters the sign of Gemini. That's a vibe shift. That's a planet changing signs. This is shifting the way that energy is functioning in the context of Venus, which is literally exactly what Venus conjunct Uranus is asking for. So again, like, and this is happening quickly, right? Like we've got that conjunction, and then like turn around very next second, like immediately Venus makes that jump over the other sign. So not only to me is this indicating change is happening, but they're also probably happening very quickly. And there also could be these cascading or back-to-back changes that it's like one thing after another, after another, after another, like chain reaction type of changes going on as well. So anyways, we've got the Venus-Uranus conjunction, then Venus immediately changes signs, enters the sign of Gemini. Gemini is the sign associated with versatility, changeability, variability, like options, variations. Like it is a very adaptable and change oriented energy. So we go from a Venus-Uranus conjunction to Venus changing signs to Venus and Gemini, change, change, change. And then, as I said, the first thing that Venus does is forms a trine to Pluto. Trine aspects facilitate a essentially like limitless flow of energy. This is a totally unrestricted synastry between the planets, okay? And Pluto represents powerful transformation. So there is yet again another force to be reckoned with, representing powerful change, transformation, regeneration, hitting that Venus energy. So it's, you know, literally all of these different things, 4 different things right there. Venus and Uranus, Venus changing signs, Venus and Gemini, Venus trine Pluto, change, 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 change. And then what else is happening? Neptune stations retrograde on the 4th as well, alongside all of this activity that's going on with the Venus energy. And Neptune is in a conjunction right now with Saturn in the very early degrees of Aries. As Venus enters the sign of Gemini, that puts her into a sextile with Neptune. So Venus in the sign of Gemini, in the trine to Pluto is also aspecting Neptune as Neptune stations retrograde. So there's more change going on. The Neptune element in here also could really like make things feel unreal or unbelievable. Like there could be some otherworldly energy that is featured on Friday, and in the combination with this strong Uranus vibe and flavor as well, it could literally feel like some type of magical or mystical experience in the context of some of these changes that are happening or going on, or like the chance encounters, or just, I don't know, like like there could be like a miraculous or like marvelous magical mystical nature to the experience somehow, with a highlight on the Neptunian energy and a highlight on the Uranus-Venus combo energy as well, and also this Gemini-Mercury-Pluto energy. It does feel sort of like a fireworks show to me somehow on Friday, but not necessarily in a bad way, just in a maybe exciting, exhilarating, unexpected, doing new things. Like a lot of people might be doing something for the first time or something like that. I don't know, but that's not all, you guys. We also have the moon involved in this change-oriented activity going on. The moon is in the sign of Scorpio. Another thing to be aware of is that we are in black moon energy this weekend. Whenever the moon is in the sign alongside where the black moon is transiting, or the sign opposing where the black moon is currently transiting, it activates black moon energy. That's because the black moon works in conjunctions and oppositions. So when the moon is in the sign conjuncting or opposing the black moon, that is when we are likely to feel black moon energy the most. And of course, this energy can trigger our fears, worries, insecurities, and doubts in the sign of Scorpio. It can also be like hyper competitive, very possessive. It can bring up fears of loss that force us or compel us to just really like cling on to things. So there is that, and there is the potential for some of these shadows to be triggered, and people to be acting out accordingly throughout the course of this weekend. But I don't actually think the black moon energy is the highlight with all of this other significant planetary activity going on. I do think it's sort of taking a back seat. Like it may be popping up here and there. It may be sort of like a, kind of quiet undercurrent or something that is like coming up in the back of the mind a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be playing like a front seat driving role while we've got all this other significant energetic activity going on this weekend. However, the moon, aside from being in the sign of Scorpio, is also going to be squaring Pluto in Aquarius and trining Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is in a water sign, the moon's in a water sign. We've got a moon-Jupiter trine. That's giving some big emotions, and that can be positive and uplifting. It may be helping to counter some of those black moon energy, actually. However, the square to Pluto is that planet having to do with transformation, regeneration, and it is the planet that is going to be trining Venus once she moves into the sign of Gemini. And again, the fact that it's the moon in the square to Pluto and simultaneously in trine Jupiter, that could indicate potential for some type of big, deep, complex emotional changes, transformations that could also be underway in this energy as well. Either maybe like as a result of some of these other more surface level changes, environmental type, like what's happening around us changes, relationship-based changes that are going on, or maybe like the changes happening within us, or what is driving the desire for, things to change externally. But either way, it really is hitting very much in terms of how we're feeling about things and also what we are wanting. Venus is what we love. This is our heart. This is our desires, our preferences, our values. It is what we want. With the Uranian energy and the Venus energy fusion, we want change. We desire something different. We need to do something that gives us a sense of excitement, like makes us feel invigorated and stimulated, something electrifying. This is not energy. I will say this is not energy that is meant to be long-lived. It's like it's here for a good time, not a long time, but while it's here, it like makes a lasting impact and long-lasting change or awakening or shift, transition, transformation, something that actually breaks us out of something that had previously limited us, that can come as a result of whatever lightning strikes us, whether it seems like a good thing in the moment or whether it doesn't seem like such a good thing in the moment, in the long term, it is probably going to have some overall positive effect somehow. But anyways, so we've got all that going on, all of those various aspects. Venus, as I was saying, this is our heart, this is what we want, there's a desire for change. And then with the moon also in the aspect to Pluto and Jupiter, this is just the internal emotional struggle to expand and grow in a way that assists us in whatever process of transformation is going on right now. Or again, like I said, it could be working the other way around. It could be these big, profound emotional changes, transformations, awakenings that are leading us or causing us to change ourselves and our relationships and the world around us. And, in consideration of the fact that we've got all these simultaneous aspects on Friday, therefore, don't be surprised if you just wake up feeling like a different person somehow, or you just have this craving for something that is out of the ordinary, unique, authentic, original. Or if you just find yourself experiencing a massive distaste for things that you have previously maybe idealized but now seem fake or artificial or overly surface level. There's a yearning for depth as well. When we have Venus in Gemini trining Pluto, or any Venus trine Pluto, that is a yearning and a desire and a magnetic pull into depth and intensity and complexity and understanding. So Venus trine Pluto wants to see and embrace the core and root of things. So there's definitely this magnetic pull going on, this electrified urge perhaps to just do something different. I think a lot of people are going to be changing their appearances pretty spontaneously, or just making relationship changes, or buying things that are out of the ordinary, unusual purchases. And if that's the case, they probably are future oriented, or to solve some type of problem, or some type of upgrade maybe as well. But this is definitely bringing on the desire for unusual, out of the ordinary, change inducing experiences. I think that we are safe to say that. And as I said earlier, change is coming quickly with this. This is things happening out of nowhere, things that we weren't expecting, things going in ways that we weren't anticipating. And with that simultaneous Neptune element, when a planet stations in the sky, it amplifies the energy of that planet. So Neptune energy, Neptunian energy in all of its forms is very amplified right now. And remember, Neptune is also in a conjunction to Saturn in the beginning of Aries. So Neptune is stationing retrograde, powerful Neptune energy. Uranus at 29 degrees of the sign of Taurus is also a powerful energy. When a planet is at 29 degrees or 0 degrees of a sign, that also amplifies the energy of that planet in that sign. So super amplified Neptune, super amplified Uranus, amplified Venus as well, by the fact that Venus is in her sign of rulership and making this connection to Uranus as he exits her sign. And that fusion right there, as I was mentioning earlier, could make things definitely seem unreal, seem like some type of dream. Or with Neptune stationing retrograde, this could also be the sudden sensation or feeling that the fog has suddenly been lifted somehow, or we are seeing things clearly maybe for the first time in a long time, or we are feeling awake for the first time in a long time. Now, it's so interesting that we would have that planetary combination prominent at the same time, especially in the context of Neptune stationing retrograde. Because Neptune, you guys, is associated with what? This is the sleep and the dream and the hypnosis. It's being under the spell. It's the unconscious. It's not being all that with it. And Uranus is the galactic alarm clock. Uranus is notoriously referred to as the Great Awakener, the planet ruling the Great Awakening, which, correlates to the age of Aquarius. We've got Pluto in the sign of Aquarius too right now, which is bringing a 20-year period of powerful awakenings. But considering, as I've said, that Uranus is about to make all of these moves, things are about to change quite radically, especially in the context of how we are thinking about things. It's very interesting, I guess we could say, that as Uranus begins this period of activation, which is that awakening energy, on the same day that jump off, kickoff point actually happens, in my opinion, Neptune, the planet ruling essentially like the opposite of that. If Uranus is the awakening, Neptune's where we fall asleep, is stationing retrograde. When planets, that's like the inversion of the energy to some extent. So there could really be some like light bulb moments going on, especially in the context of other people. This could be financial situations. You could just suddenly see something, figure something out that's maybe been going on for a while, but you'd been overlooking it or you were unaware of it for some reason. This could definitely be bringing like a sudden strike or shot of awareness in terms of something that we had just been failing to perceive for some reason over, I don't know, a set period of time that we're coming out of, or maybe ever, who knows. But that is a very interesting dynamic right there, that the planet ruling sleep and dreams will be stationing retrograde, while the planet ruling awakening would be getting lit up and being like really turned on. And also, even if we take it out more, microcosm, macrocosm, into this greater cosmic saga that's unfolding right now, which we are paying homage to on this channel as we narrate the shift of the ages, our transition to the age of Aquarius, we are moving from the age of Pisces, ruled by Neptune, that same planet that we were just talking about, into the age of Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. So it is also the rulers of the age that we're moving out of and the age that we're moving into. And the age that we're moving out of, that energy is stationing backwards, while the age that we're moving into, that energy is being like highlighted and lit up and taking center stage. So, even if we look at it simply in that context, the dynamic going on right now between Neptune and Uranus and how that correlates into our greater shift of ages, it is another repetition of that same pattern of being at a fundamental transition point, and that from now going forward, things are orienting themselves towards a novel and unprecedented future, and the patterns and the cycles associated with development and experience in the past are going to essentially remain more and more in the past as we enter this period of paradigm shift that is, I do think, going to become very noticeable now, and especially moving forward through the next 20 years and beyond, as we have this Pluto in Aquarius transit playing out. So you see, when you look at it that way, this is another one of those important, like significant and fundamental activation points in our greater overall shift of ages, and it could just be having some very surprising results in our individual lives as we are all collectively energetically oriented in that capacity as a result of the way that these energies and frequencies are hitting us personally right now and altering our energy bodies in association with that. So it could be like there could be a sense of being able to finally understand something, finally grasp something finally making sense as well, especially again about like other people or relationships, or there's a lot of other themes that are going to go on along with this as well, and I'm going to talk about all of it as we continue to move through this report. But this is very heavily centered on relationship dynamics. It could also bring in, finances. And again, we're going to get into all the other themes, but other people are probably playing a pretty significant role in whatever is changing, being uncovered, being illuminated for us, what we're awakening to as we do hit that energy on Friday. And also, it could be bringing up some questions. It could be bringing up some doubts. It could be shaking the state of, again, like our ideals or our preferences, or like what we thought we wanted to some extent. And as I said earlier, like this fusion also could be like highly synchronistic. Like there could be things that seem just miraculous, or just the way that alignments and connections and meetings and happenings and circumstances are playing themselves out on Friday. Like, there could be something about an experience which just feels orchestrated by a higher power somehow. Like, there's magic dust floating in the air with the Uranus-Neptune interaction going on as well. So now let me move on. I want to talk about some of the ways that this Venus-Gemini energy that we are moving into might express itself, especially, of course, considering the conjunction of Uranus, which is really the big news on Friday, aside from, of course, all that other stuff. This, as I have emphasized, has to do with other people, encounters, interactions, but also conversations, meetings, deals, and negotiations, like partnerships, alliances, and projects. That type of stuff could be big, important themes coming up as well. This could also heavily feature resources, finances, financial markets, or financial matters generally. Crypto, I would draw a couple lines or circles and underlines and exclamation points around. There could be some type of emphasis on something happening with cryptocurrencies Friday, over the weekend and moving into next week. Money, or the value of money generally, could be a highlight for some reason. Also, like the like more muse qualities of the Venus energy, art, music, creativity. There could be surprising or unexpected things happening in those industries. We could also feel, as I mentioned earlier, these like changes that are coming up in terms of preferences, values, desires, and the alterations that could be going on to the physical appearance as well as a result of this inner unrest that could be coming up if we are not like actively pursuing some type of change. Of course, Venus has to do with the like physical appearance and the aesthetic of things also. So a lot of people could be like suddenly deciding they need to change their whole house around, or change their closet, or just like totally change their hairstyle and stuff like that. I do think that it's very possible, I said this in my last video, that people could be like shocking you or surprising you with like physical changes that they make to their appearance, that they suddenly step out with or into in the energy of Friday. So it is best, as I have said, to align with and follow the impulse to do something different, or to do something unusual, or to change something somehow this weekend, so that we don't get that energy pent up. Uranus energy, when it's overly pent up, can lead to accidents and stuff like that as well. And that's when we tend to see the more negative expressions of the energy. So, you know, even if it's just something small, like literally walking the opposite way when you take your evening walk, if you're used to going out of your house and going right, like just going out of your house and going left, like even a change that small can be aligned for some reason with the way that energy needs to play itself out right now. So even just making small, seemingly insignificant changes could bring in these like strange or unexpected or transformative meetings and connections. And I think that it's best to move with the energy when we've got a blueprint like this coming through, as we do on Friday. This energy is also very likely, as I was talking about earlier, but maybe to a bit of a different extent, like sudden epiphanies about how to fix things, how to change things, resolve things, transform things, get out of things, move on from things, like let something go. Especially if we have been like stuck in a rut for a while, or things have been very fixed or very stagnant, and we've been like unable to shake ourselves free, or we've been on some level like in denial about our stagnancy. This could be a time when we are like, for some reason, forced to face those issues, and in a way that actually leads to some type of true progress, or some momentum that's created in that context as well. Things being discovered, things being uncovered. This is going to be a big theme going forward. Of course, I've already talked about this energy in terms of Venus as she enters the sign of Gemini, forming the trine to Pluto, and Venus's desire to see behind the curtain. But we have Uranus, as I have already mentioned, who is like right on her heels. He's the one that is going to be forming the big trine to Pluto over the next several months. And again, that is this awakening energy in like clear, direct view of whatever's been hiding in the shadows. So there is about to be a major emphasis, I think, on things being discovered, things being uncovered, like deep, dark secrets being revealed, coming out in a way that, again, is providing some massive awakening, and also as a result some very transformative or regenerative or extreme change type of outcome. Venus in the sign of Gemini loves to learn, loves to absorb information, loves to consider multiple angles and perspectives of things. This is a very lighthearted energy, extroverted energy, versatile energy, very non-committal type of energy. Venus in Gemini loves variation, loves like the changeable state of things, like being able to go from one thing to another and not necessarily having to make any type of concrete choice. Venus in Gemini loves the options. But Venus in Gemini and applying, trying to Pluto in Aquarius, this is, as I said, but even on another level, because we're talking about air sign energy, there is a love for learning, like deep, dark, occult information, like the secret truths about things. This is very quote unquote conspiracy oriented energy, digging for answers. And then of course with the Uranian energy there as well, this could be shocking discoveries that come as a result. So also don't be surprised if this weekend, moving into next week, you find yourself suddenly massively sort of absorbed in some type of mystery, like just being a whole detective, getting to the bottom of something, figuring something out, figuring how something works, like the gears in the machine, seeing under the hood, like just really very almost like obsessively wanting to understand the deeper, darker complexities of things. That is a vibe, and that is going to be a vibe now, and like I said, moving forward. Not to the same extent once Venus gets out of the way, but Uranus being in the trine to Pluto, I'm telling you, like, we're entering a period of time where there's going to be some type of collective awakening to secrets that have been withheld for long periods of time that totally revolutionize the state of our experience of the world, which really sounds like hyperbolic and over dramatic and crazy to say right now. And honestly, Mercury's in the sign of Leo, so speaking with a bit of flair and drama is the vibe right now. But I think that I'm probably actually not hyping it up or overemphasizing it enough, considering the significance of the aspects. I really don't mean to be like, oh my god, we have these big changes coming, because I have no point of reference really for what they could possibly be. I know the basic themes that are presented here, and over this next couple weeks we're gonna be talking more and more about it. But I wouldn't be emphasizing the significance of this so much if it really just wasn't reading like that. My enthusiasm and dramatic approach to expressing this energy is just having a lot to do with the essence of the energy and the time at which it's coming into fruition and the greater nature of this unfolding epic cosmic saga that we're moving through. It just seems like this is going to be a big deal, and it just seems like there are going to be some, I don't know how there couldn't be. Life in reality seems to always reflect the language written in the stars, and the language written in the stars, again, at least from my perception, is really talking about significant changes coming at us. So I do think that these are perhaps bigger than we can fathom or imagine right now. It's almost like the same type of concept of back in the day, when before there was computers and before there was the internet and before there was even phones and stuff like that, maybe when there was only a radio, before there was TV and stuff, trying to tell somebody that within the next, or trying to explain to somebody, or trying to if I was to be doing this astrology report back then, trying to tell them that within the next, I don't know, 50 years or whatever, that we would have this thing called the internet, and like we would all have these devices that we carry around in our pocket that essentially connect us to the entire world, and like our banking and blah blah, all of that stuff, you know, like there wouldn't have been a way to appropriately emphasize the significance of that information age transformation that really, and it's funny because it was this like, and I'll talk about this as we move into the energy of next week. Again, I'm on like a random tangent right now, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But the last time that Uranus entered the sign of Gemini was 1941. It was like 75 years ago. And that did bring the introduction of the, like, what would lead to the first computer. Like, that stuff all happened. And also, like, well, there was a lot to do with, like, air travel and stuff like that as well that went on during that period of time. And we'll talk about that, like I said, as we move more into that energy. But Uranus in the sign of Gemini revolutionizes the way that we are dealing with electrical energy and communication, information-based technology. And in the trine to Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, like I feel like this is like a bridge to the space age, you guys. I think I said that in my last video, but it is seemingly so. So there's my tangent on how, like, I don't mean to like overhype what I don't know is coming, yet I can't help myself from overhyping what I don't know is coming because it just seems so overly hype worthy. So anyways, there's that. The moon squaring Pluto, conjuncting the black moon in the sign of Scorpio, in the trine to Jupiter as well on Friday. This is another energy that could be bringing or referencing deep discoveries, finding out the truth about something that has been hidden in the shadows, gaining an awareness of some type of perhaps hidden power source somehow. And that is another thing. While I'm on this note and tangent, another way that I like, I feel like there are hidden power sources. We're talking about Pluto in the sign of Aquarius trining Uranus in Gemini. I think this could also be centered around like unknown or hidden or previously withheld like power or energy somehow that plays a role in this big change and transition in terms of technology and stuff that's coming up soon as well. So more on that in a future video, but just wanted to throw that in there while it was, for whatever reason, at the top of my mind. But I do think that any of these discoveries or revelations or secrets revealed or hidden things coming to light, the outcome of them, at least to me, looking at this blueprint, seems to be like certain change. As said earlier, we have a flurry of change related activity happening on Friday. So it's probably going to be like a busy, active day. And again, it could be like it could be like one big change that is happening that has like a series of small changes happening within it, or it could just be like one thing after another, like multiple changes happening at the same time, or like a set of changes that kind of come and go somehow. But people probably acting weird, people probably surprising you with what they are saying, maybe what they are asking for, or maybe how they appear or how they are presenting themselves. Random chance, spontaneous meetings and interactions with some type of like very synchronistic quality to them could be going on. And again, like the nature of the way that things may play out with this could really have us questioning whether this is real life or whether this is just some type of dream. Things could feel really surreal and like almost, again, like magical in the way that they are playing out or aligning. So another way that this energy could manifest for us would have to do with the final ending dimension of things and relationships and situations and experiences. We're talking about change, we're talking about transformation, we're talking about transition. There's got to be an end of one thing so that something else can become in any process of change, and that could be where our experience is centered around on Friday as well. Especially, this is going to be in terms of situations that have run their course and just cannot continue to go on, or situations that are not authentically aligned and therefore stifling the growth of either party involved. These will also not be allowed to continue to be a part of whatever they are moving forward. This energy is essentially the final push to remove blockages to growth that have been creating stagnation, holding us back, keeping us contained, or keeping us detached or unaware of some type of latent potential that has been existing within us that for whatever reason we haven't been able to acknowledge or cultivate up until this period of time, but that we are no longer being allowed to sleep on, that we have to awaken to, and that we have to align with as we move forward down this new path. And at this point in time, it's kind of like the do or die energy, I feel like, in terms of universe forcing these changes. And if we have not been able to detach ourselves from the things that are not good for us right now, that's when this energy could be a bit brutal or a bit forceful or, very uncomfortable, very unsettling, very destabilizing. Of course, that is always a strong potential when we've got Uranian energy going on, because it is seeking change. It is making the corrections for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves. And these are it's like the final push to make some very important change that is actually related to our higher destiny on some level. So, there's that. With the black moon being relevant right now, and also this plutonic energy that's going on, this could also have to do with conquering fears, overcoming addictions, breaking attachments to toxic or abusive financial or relationship-based situations, or even friendships. Again, we are being energetically empowered to change with this, and something is likely to be fading away while something else is likely to be appearing. Some illusion may be breaking down while we are awakening to the truth of something else. So being suddenly released, finding an out or escaping from something. Also, Uranus brings sudden chances to free ourselves from things. Neptune, especially with Saturn and going retrograde, dissolves boundaries, barriers. It distorts time and perception. If you've been waiting for some opening or the right moment to free yourself from something or to escape from something somehow, it could come with this energetic alignment as well. When I was writing my notes and I was considering the hybrid fusion energy of Uranus at 29 degrees and Neptune retrograde and the trine to Pluto, I just kept getting this imagery of one of those old time county jails, you know what I mean, where there's this old rickety jail cell, and then there's the guard that sits at the desk just a few feet from the jail cell. And this energy makes me feel like that fluke opportunity where for whatever reason the guard falls asleep and the little bird flies through the open window and picks up the key and was gonna take it out the window, but for whatever reason drops it right outside the jail cell within reach, and whoever's in the cell can reach in and turn the lock and key and open the door and escape from the situation on some total chance happenstance while the guard's passed out, that. And obviously that's not a very realistic scenario at all, but that is what this energy could do. I feel like that type of synchronistic alignment, and both the distorted perception end of things, the not paying attention and being caught in the illusion or literally falling asleep, merged with the sudden miraculous awakening and divine alignment and escape scenario. So I don't know if you've been, for some reason, waiting on a moment, this could be the moment, and things could just like happen randomly that make something that you never would have expected to be possible in a way also that allows you to free yourself from something. So, you know, not pertaining obviously to jail, but other things maybe that we've been boxed into, or because that's another thing, you know, we are being freed from our previously conceived limitations that we've placed on ourselves for whatever reason. So I don't know, maybe that could be relevant to someone out there for some reason, but miraculous disappearing acts, escapes, and also like meeting new, unique, different, unusual people, making new friends, connections, and acquaintances. This is another thing that could be very possible and very indicated on a more like mundane level as this energy comes through. So weird, maybe unexplainable stuff going on Friday, or maybe you're just going a different way, taking a different route on your walk or your trip to the store, or maybe you just have an unexpected run-in with somebody or something that, I don't know, like reinvigorates you or awakens you to something somehow. Any of those things. Or maybe something just totally magical and miraculous happens that leaves you questioning whether or not this is real life or this is a dream. Anything, anywhere along that spectrum is possible, perhaps even probable, especially you guys if you happen to have planets around 29 degrees 1 degree fixed mutable signs. So any of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, probably maybe around like 25 degrees to the end of the sign. Same thing goes for mutable signs, Gemini, Sag, Pisces, Virgo, 0 to 5 degrees maybe of that sign. The closer to 29 and 0 degrees, if you've got big planets around them, you are in the direct line of this Uranus energy. And also those of you who are earth signs, if you have significant planets around, you know, 25 to 30 degrees of Virgo, Capricorn, of course Taurus, or if you have Scorpio planets that are in opposition, if you've got planets at the very last degrees of Scorpio and Sagittarius, also you are heavily activated by what we've got going on out there this weekend. So check your chart, you guys, see if you've got planets around that specific degree range. And honestly, you probably don't have to check your chart. You could probably just check your life, and your life will tell you probably if you've got planets in that degree range, because that's just how things are probably going out there this weekend. Overall, Friday, you know, probably a strange experience, like I said, and if people are lashing out, it's going to be because things are just too boring or too status quo. Now let's move on. I want to talk about Saturday for a minute, and then we'll talk about Sunday. I will let you guys know Sunday actually has a lot of the same energy being activated that we've got going on Friday. So Friday and Sunday are giving a very similar vibe this weekend, but Saturday is a bit of a switch up. This day I do think is lacking some of the like energetic punch that was very prominent in the energy of Friday. It is a more calm, harmonious, emotional day. There may have, as I said, been some fireworks going off on Friday, and I don't just mean the ones for the 4th of July, but Saturday I think is more of like a rest and relaxation and rejuvenation type of day. The moon is still transiting through Scorpio, so we are still in that black moon energy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Some things could be being triggered, but the moon is also trining the sun in Cancer. That is a very harmonious flow of energy happening between the sun and the moon. And oftentimes that just, you know, when the sun and the moon are in trine each month, it generally is a period of time that is just more relaxed, more harmonious. Like we feel better. It's less of, there's less like internal irritation and conflict going on. So Saturday should have us feeling emotionally regulated. I do think maybe a sense of inner calm, inner harmony, some type of like inner satisfaction. Venus in the sign of Gemini on Saturday also exactly sextiles Saturn and is in a very tight sextile to Neptune, who of course just stationed retrograde the day before, while also trining Pluto. And I do think that the Venus-Saturn sextile exact dynamic that we've got going on Saturday, plus the sun trining the moon in water signs could also be helping us to maybe like stabilize after some of these changes or transformations that could have gone on over the course of this like past 24 hours or so. It seems like people are more likely to wake up on Saturday in a more happy place after whatever went on Friday than maybe we have in a while or in a few days. There is again just a more pleasant emotional current running through us for whatever reason on Saturday. Now, we can't forget about the black moon. As I've already referenced, this could be kind of kicking up some of those fears or insecurities, possessiveness, intense emotions. Could be something that perhaps we're contending with on some level as well. This could also be bringing up or triggering maybe some deep or complex emotional processing that is going on as a result maybe of whatever just played out throughout the course of this last half of the week, maybe specifically on Friday. I do think that Saturday is, despite Venus being in Gemini, which really is the social butterfly type of energy, it could be a more like hermit mode day. The sun in Cancer, the sign of the crab, there could be kind of a pull, especially with the moon in Scorpio also, that can be a more introverted, like deep, complex, contained emotional energy. We could just be feeling a bit more withdrawn and want to kind of like be in the house and be to ourselves and maybe process some of these things that we're finding out or some of the things that we've discovered or that have come to light somehow, and the impact maybe that they're having on our emotions or our thoughts about things or our preferences or our values or our desires, all of these Venus-oriented qualities that are up for change and transition as we move through the weekend as well. So I do think that people are going to be pretty engaged in thinking a lot about their feelings about things, specifically on Saturday. People, places, situations, options, choices, decisions, what feels right, what doesn't. There's also, we need to understand a pretty polarized like nature to the way that things are playing out right now. Things are probably going to be kind of like strongly one way or strongly another as we have the planets moving through the early degrees of Gemini, forming that trine to Pluto. Gemini, this is obviously about the twins. It's about the black and white, the back and forth. It's polarity, but it's also like attracting like, the same and different. We've got options, choices, decisions. Again, this is a very changeable sign. It has to do with duality, right? Polarity. So as a result of that, we could really see some very strong dichotomies going on here. The difference between things could be pretty staggering. And there could just be some type of emphasis on choices and decisions as well as we do begin to move into this stronger Gemini energy, which really, I mean, the Gemini archetype, especially fused with this powerful Aquarius energy, is going to be an emerging trend and theme in a whole bunch of different ways throughout the course of really this next upcoming year here, and maybe even further into that. So this would also indicate powerful polarization that could somehow be a part of this greater awakening energy that we're moving into right now as well. And the reason why I bring that up is because you may find polarized forces to be somehow extra relevant throughout the course of the weekend as Venus does enter the sign of Gemini and hit that trine to Pluto. Overall, though, I do feel like Saturday, despite the black moon energy, despite what, you know, could be kind of like triggered in the background, it feels sort of like a soft landing from whatever happened on Friday. Saturday is a good day for self-care, TLC, getting things done involving maybe the home or the family, taking the day off to rest. This could also just be a good way to spend the day on Saturday. It is, again, like this more like gentle, take it easy, go slow, rest and relax type of vibe. Now, moving into Sunday, as I said, this is sort of like the little sister of whatever happened on Friday. A lot of the same energy is being activated, and that's going to be because the moon in its transit is going to be opposing the energy, the points, the planets that just made those connections happen on Saturday, or I mean on Friday. So all all of the same planets that were activated by Venus and Uranus coming into a conjunction and then Venus entering the sign of Gemini are again going to be activated by the moon's transit through the sign of Scorpio moving into Sagittarius. The moon will hit 29 degrees of Taurus or 29 degrees of Scorpio, oppose Uranus, then enter Sagittarius, hit 1 degree of Sagittarius, or wherever Venus is on Sunday. I think she might be at like 2 or 3 degrees of Gemini by the time we get to Sunday. But regardless, the moon will form the opposition to Venus. The moon will form a sextile to Pluto. The moon will form a trine to Neptune, who just stationed retrograde in the conjunction to Saturn. So again, it's like all the same energy bodies emphasized and amplified by the moon impacting them. By trine, that Neptune influence with Saturn is highlighted again. By opposition, the Uranus influence is highlighted again. The Venus influence having just entered the new sign, activated by the moon as well. And then we've got Pluto over there going on by a sextile. So this could feel sort of like a pile-on or some type of aftershock or like follow-up dose of whatever showed out or turned up on Friday. If things aren't happening pertaining to Friday somehow, then we are probably either thinking about or daydreaming about or processing maybe some emotions that were related to things that went on Friday, or are just kind of caught or consumed or experiencing kind of like the generally changeable and unstable and maybe a bit like exciting or exhilarating state and nature of current events that's happening very collectively, I think, this week and weekend as well. You could just be finding yourself suddenly immersed in some type of unfolding change that you're playing some type of a role in, and it could be manifesting that way. This could also be another weird day on Sunday where things are just feeling off, feeling different for some reason, not going the way that they generally tend to go. It is a very flighty energy. It's a very non-committal energy. We're talking about a moon in Sagittarius opposite Venus in the sign of Gemini. Oh, that doesn't nail itself down for anybody, okay? That energy right there it is never going to commit. That energy wants variation. It wants change. It wants expansion. It wants versatility. It wants the freedom to experiment and choose. And it is just not going to allow itself or have any desire to be boxed in or overly attached in any type of way. Freedom seeking could be a pretty serious vibe on Sunday. And remember, like, this is giving kind of escapism quality to things as well. Whether it's because we like literally cannot stand to do the same thing the same way one more time, or we're going to lose our mind, or whether it's because we just like cannot continue to participate in whatever's going on, or we just feel so detached or disassociated from reality, or we have a desire not to participate or to escape from something somehow. There is this vibe that is emphasizing escapism when we've got a Sag moon trining Neptune and Saturn in Aries. That is getting out of responsibilities, getting out of obligations and duties, maybe because we just want to celebrate life and go have fun doing something else. People could be canceling plans and stuff like that, opting out of things, not following through. Again, with the moon opposition to Venus conjunct Uranus at 29 Taurus as well, like this could also be like people suddenly changing or canceling plans. This energy, it just wants to induce change, wants to induce growth and expansion as well, especially outside traditional convention, traditional norms, previous limitations and boundaries. There could be a motivation to overcome our own previous setbacks, our own previous like what we've come up against in the past, expand our horizons, expand our possibilities, expand our opportunities. People, I think, are generally going to be seeking more. That's another way that we can put this. Like what has always been good enough we might suddenly realize that it's just not good enough anymore, that the value that we're recognizing something has or that we have is no longer a match for whatever the thing was that it used to be aligned with. That could be at the bottom of a lot of these relationship changes. And it could have to do with a lot of the financial oriented changes that are going on right now as well. This energy, aside from removing blockages to growth, it is also exposing and awakening us to the true, authentic value of things and the potential that that value represents. So there could be this, like, with the moon and Sag, you know, this like internal desire not only to change but also to grow and to expand the previous ways that we have been limited or contained. This is also energy that is releasing us from and breaking karmic and generational cycles that have been perpetuating down through lineage, down through generation for very long periods of time. And that's another one of the things that is being altered, changed, and switched up right now. A lot of the patterns that have been perpetuating are no longer going to be operating the same way going forward. And therefore, like, another way that this energy, I think, is going to play itself out is I think that a lot of like unanticipated and unexpected results are going to accompany what normally would have gotten a certain outcome in various ways, various things over this period of time as well. Like, it's not going to be as predictable how things are going to go as perhaps it always has been up until this point in time. Another thing that I want to note in the context of just the way the energy is presenting this weekend, Chiron right now, who does rule those generational and karmic cycles, is at 27 degrees of the sign of Aries. That Sabian symbol is through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. With Neptune, who rules the imagination, stationing retrograde on Friday, with all of that other energy present, that is another thing that I feel like could be, or another symbolic expression rather, that I think is very accurately aligned to the way experiences could be manifesting themselves as we move through the day on Friday, through the weekend, and really through the rest of the month of July, and awakening to potential, as I've said, this Uranus-Taurus energy, and also the possibilities that have been previously ignored, previously denied. We are being forced to grow and change and let things go, but we are also, I think, getting back that which may have or has held unrecognized value or been some type of long lost love or abandoned or overlooked dimension of ourselves that, again, like, for some reason we are being forced to re-acknowledge, to recognize, to cultivate and align with right now, because it's actually a part of our original purpose or some higher part of our soul's evolution that we're no longer going to be allowed to sleep on as we move forward into this age of awakening. So you may find yourself being reacquainted. Like, this could all of this energy could very much be playing out in kind of like a subconscious way as well. And the awakenings that are happening, the discoveries that are happening, for a lot of people, this could have to do with kind of like the contents of our own psyche and our own experience and our own subconscious programming, and how we've been holding ourselves back through things that we didn't even realize held power or control over them. But now that we are gaining the light of awareness and the recognition of them, coming to a point of power personally where we can kind of like consciously make changes to free ourselves from those things that may have held power over us in the past, and consciously decide the way that we are going to take things for ourselves moving forward. Like, this could be a real powerful way that this energy plays out for a lot of people as well. A lot of people will experience it externally in terms of the world around them and people in relationships, but a lot of people could experience it internally as well in terms of their relationship to themselves. But I do feel like there is, I mean, if we have not been in alignment with that part of ourselves and, you know, working to promote it and cultivate it and build our life, or build it up, or build it through us, through ourselves, throughout the course of our lives up to this point in time, I do feel like there is something, like some seed of ourselves that we may become reacquainted with now and moving forward, that we come to realize is just something that has to be a part of our lives somehow, or that we're supposed to be doing, or that feels right, or like when we do it, good things happen, you know? So I don't know, pay attention to that as well. But I think that it's going to be something that is just like organically happening and is like undeniable, and we can't really stray too far from, because as we do move forward into this energy, we are one of the, like, I think part of the process of the Great Awakening is this like forced, well, initially forced, but over time it will not be forced. It will be self-motivated process of self-actualization and doing just that, like coming to recognize our like natural, innate, inborn talents, gifts, potential opportunities, and harnessing those in a way that does allow us to contribute whatever that unique blessing is to the greater overall whole. That is where we're going in the Age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius energy has a lot to do with the awakened individual contributing their personal awakening to the greater overall collective, you know, human story in a way that fulfills the self, but also serves the greater whole or the greater good to some capacity. Aquarius is a sign that has a lot to do with the unique individual and the development of individual authentic potential, but in the context of the role that that manifest potential plays in the overall collective story, what void that like specific individual spark was meant to fill or illuminate in that overall whole collective story. So we are not going to be allowed to detach from or deny parts of ourselves that universe needs us to activate and to put into practice for one reason or another as we continue to move forward. And energy right now, I think, is maybe bringing back some of that stuff to the forefront of our mind, or realigning us with it somehow. Lost opportunities could definitely be regained as we move forward throughout this upcoming week, through the weekend, or again, like this month of July is taking us there as well. So be open to change on Sunday, you guys. This energy could be bringing emotional upsets with the moon opposite Uranus at 29 degrees. It could be shaking foundations. It could be disturbing the peace. It could definitely be upsetting the comfort zone. There could be strong storms or like seismic earthquake type of physical stuff that goes on with this type of energy being activated as well. And you may also find that you have a hard time sleeping. You may have had a hard time sleeping Saturday into Sunday as the moon was coming into the opposition with Uranus. There's also this escapism quality to the energy going on, so be mindful of that as well. And feeling overstimulated, feeling strung out for some reason, feeling like you've got an extra amount to process. That is all the just nature of our energetic environment, I think, on Sunday as well. So big changes here, you guys. Change has definitely arrived. Our lives and the world are about to start reflecting that, I do think, moving forward. And that does it for me today. That's what I have to say about the way that energy is lining up, the way that transits are coming together, and how I think perhaps they could be impacting what is going on in our little lives and reality throughout the course of the weekend. I'm going to get us a synchronicity card now. I am going to ask God, Spirit, Universe for one final piece of guidance or advice. What do we need to know? What should we keep in mind? What should we tell ourselves? We got 2 cards coming out today, you guys. One says, count on God, and one says, it's your attitude. Our first card says, count on God, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Psalms 1:3. You will prosper, you will grow and expand. The law of attraction is now working for you, and you attract all those who will help you in reaching your goals, spiritually and materially. That's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of this strange magnetism that could be out there, and these chance meeting and encounters that have some type of purposeful impact in our lives somehow. We could get some of that for sure this weekend. Our other card says, it's your attitude. Straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Matthew 7:14. The only way you can alter outer conditions is to change your mental attitude. For harmony, peace, prosperity, and health to enter your life, you must fill your subconscious with the understanding that all harmony, peace, abundance, and security is yours right now. And that's funny because what did I tell you guys we have going on this weekend? Venus is coming into a trine with Pluto. Pluto rules the subconscious mind. Venus in the sign of Gemini loves understanding, really wants to gain an understanding of what's going on in the subconscious mind. Venus is also related to harmony, peace, and prosperity. And that's exactly what this abundance, security, all of that stuff is Venus-oriented energy. So I think that we're going to have some assistance this weekend, you guys, as I've said, and maybe getting to the bottom of some of our own psychological issues and hangups in a way that actually does reorient us and help us reframe things in a way that begins to magnetize and attract the right people, the right places, the right situations to us that help us get on that path to harmony, peace, abundance, security, prosperity, and health. They're yours right now. And I do think, again, that is where this energy is trying to take us. So count on God, you guys. It's your attitude. Those are our messages for the weekend. And that's what I have to say. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. Let me know what's going on with you out there. If you are having experiences that align with, reflect, or resonate what I'm talking about or what I talked about in this video or any of my other videos lately, let me know. Drop me a comment in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I take pictures of the board and I paste them in a Facebook group that you can find in my description box. There is a link for it. If you click the link, it will take you to the Facebook group and you can see the whole images of these boards if you're interested in that. Other than that, you guys, come back with me on Monday. We have a new week of astrology to get into. This is another big energy week. This week coming up here is July 7th, and that is when Uranus changes signs for the first time in 75 years, enters the sign of Gemini. So big vibe shifts that are coming up this week, you guys. You are gonna want to tune into the energy. Come back with me. You don't want to miss it. We've got a lot to talk about as we enter the energy of next week, and I will be back to do just that and talk all about it. So I will see you then. Have a beautiful weekend, you guys. I hope it goes really well for all of you out there, and until next time, bye.